G'day YouTube, welcome back to another video on my channel. It's kind of mid-winter at the moment in Melbourne here. I like to try and get a start on just cleaning up my Shimpaku junipers. This tree, it's been in a previous video of mine, which I'll link up when I initially styled it. But you can see now it's a bit fuzzy, it's a bit overgrown, but it's starting to form the shape that we want it to be, you know. So it's had some big twists into it. It's got some heavy wire still on it, which will remain on it anyway. But now I want to actually, this tree, I think for me, I'd like to get it out of this pot this repotting season, which is probably another month away for this tree. And I like to get the trees ready before I repot. So in a way, I want to just clean this tree up so it can be repotted into and maybe a slightly overgrown bonsai pot, slightly bigger than what it should be, but start working on those roots and get them into a nice mixture of my soil mix and getting it starting to look really good. It's not far away from getting to a nice pot and being on display. The wire is going to stay on there, so that's the only probably drawback, is it's quite a very heavy aluminium wire on it at the moment to have that big bend and twist into it. But I think that will only be on for one more season, if that. So once I get it out of this mix and into my bonsai mix, I think it'll really push the growth. Shimpaku, I find, really love my mix, which is pretty much 80% pumice and 20% pine bark nuggets, and it really loves that pumice. I think they're just accelerating in that. So I'll feed it up again this year and get it really strong. But now I just want to look at this tree and go, what do we do with it? It looks cute. It looks like a nice little bush, but it's very messy. It's quite a messy, it's starting to overgrow. I think some of the branches are starting to go down. See how there's bits hanging down. There's this really ugly bit out here that I think I want to remove. You can see the silhouette is kind of nice, but then there's this big bulgy bit out here. In three-dimensionally here looking, it's not too bad, but when you look on the camera, it looks pretty horrible. Like, it really does look out of whack. Now if I remove that, the tree comes back into a nice shape. I've got to maybe emphasize this branch a bit more, bring it down more, see if we can do that. Having this one shorter, a bit nicer, and then trimming up and getting the top into a nice position. I'm not going to, I'm going to wire little bits and pieces here and there, but it's not going to be overly wide. The wire's there, it's just trying to reset the wire back into place. So it's pretty much a bit of a clean-up exercise on this tree. I'll see how much I get done today, because it's getting very cool and it's getting a bit late in the day. But yeah, I want to try and emphasize this bend more, so I'm going to try and use this wire that I've got and bring down these branches to try and emphasize that, to really give it that sweeping down view look. I think looks much nicer. But yeah, that's the stuff I will work on. Clean up all underneath, clean up any crotch growth. Same process as before. Look at some branches. So up here there's some really weak ones for some reason. They're kind of dying off. So maybe they're going to be removed. Really starting to play around with some of this branching. Picking the front. Yeah, the front's nice in there, but let's work on all this branching to get it looking good. So yeah, that's the plan for this tree. So it's just process of working through the whole tree. Might have to take some wire off, rewire it. You know, some nice branches have grown in the back here, which is great. So they can fill in over this way. Yeah, this is a real bothersome area here, so these might need to be removed. I've actually got some juvenile growth on this Shimpaku, which is good to show. I mean, not the good that happened to the tree, but it's good to show you. Now I'll show you the juvenile growth. Now I'm going to come in, try and do close-ups of this foliage. So you can see that foliage there is nice Shimpaku foliage. Now this growth here is the juvenile growth, which is not what you want to achieve on a tree. So I'll just show you that branch I cut back quite heavily. When I cut back heavily, it pushed the juvenile growth, which is unfortunate. But it grows out eventually over time. But you can see the nice scale growth on the Shimpaku, normal Shimpaku. So there's an interesting little thing that you can see. When you cut back something a bit too heavy, a bit too hard, that's what happens. So Shimpaku tend to do that if you go too hard, which is when you see my trees there after first styling, they're not that cut back that hard. So, you know, I'll show you some other ones later on in other videos where I've just done, you know, you've seen them Sorry about yawning. You've seen me work on them in the past, and I haven't gone too heavy, and they're still quite full of foliage, but they haven't thrown out the juvenile growth, which is very important. Anyway, enough of me talking. I'm going to get started working. It's pretty much the same things that you always know. Pluck out the stuff that's growing underneath, pluck them right off back to the branch. Anything grows too straight up, I'll cut that off probably. I'll thin it out a little bit. Look at the dead branches, take them off. And anything that grows in between two branches in the crotch here, I take out as well. So same process. It's always the same process, pretty much, guys. Nothing unusual. I will look through the tree. I might put some more wire on some of the. I think some of the secondary branching now is ready to be wired, so I'll put some wire on that one as well, and start to set that. So let's work on. I'll work on it slowly. I don't want to video the whole thing. It's going to be too long. But you don't want to watch 3 hours of boring work where you just see the highlights. But that's pretty much what I'm going to do. Go through it, clean it up, and I'll start on this first branch. And I'll look at these two. They look a bit dead or a bit sickly, so they might come off. Take some wire off as well. Maybe bring things around to fill in gaps like that. See, something like that. Bring this down, wire these out. So it all can work. We'll just have to go through it step by step. So let me do the first branch. And I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll keep going through. And then this tree will be ready to be repotted into a bonsai pot. And then when I'm doing that, it just is repotted. You know, I don't touch the rest of the tree, and that's the important lesson here. I just repot, and that's it. I don't have to style the tree. I don't have to touch the tree in any way, shape, and form. I just let it sit in the new soil with the design, and off it goes and grows for another 6 months. Probably 6 months before I touch it again after I've repotted it, just to give it a chance to recover. Okay, enough of me talking now, and I'll get started working on the tree. Okay, so quick update is I've kind of wired up a lot of these branches in here. Pretty much haven't wired the apex up. Wired this one. You can kind of see the layers. I've wired this small one, the lower one, but that needs to expand a bit more. I'd like to fill in a bit more of a gap in here, so I need that to grow out a bit more. Wired the back branch just to give a bit of depth. But as you can see, this hasn't been touched yet, but again, I think it's starting to put a nice shape onto the tree. You see some nice layers, nice clean even lines. Same process. Creating those pads, the same process that I've shown you in a previous video of creating pads and so on. I have been asked about apexes, and I'll try and do maybe a close-up of the apex when I want to style it again, where I'll do it. People have been asking me about that. So I'll wire this up, but then I won't put things in place until I come back to the video, and I'll show you how I go about it. Okay? Alright, see you then. Alright, I'm going to see if this works and where I've wired the apex up. Now, I'm not sure how much we can see, so let me have a look where my finger is. Yeah, cool. So from here onwards is where we want to concentrate the work on. Now, there are things that I couldn't wire because they're just a little bit, they might be long, but they're just not, they haven't hardened off and become very woody, so it's very hard for me to wire. There's a few little bits in there. You see how very weak they are. They haven't got that brownness yet in the branch to make it woody. So now you just want to start with this one, for example. Now I've pretty much wired most of those into place to make sure they're okay. See, some of these ones are a bit small, and then too green yet to wire. So I'm going to leave them. That's why they're bouncy a little bit. Now I might want to do this branch, and I think I just want to have it in here. So you start to wire it. Everything goes down, pinch off. So you want to try and create a line underneath. Yeah, so you can see a bit more of a layer there now. If I block that out, you can see that it's a bit more clearer. Okay, so work our way around. There's another one at the back here. I'll just put that into the base. Okay. Now, that's not too bad. And then the back here, I've just got this small branch here that's kind of blocking this area. So I just want to hide it a bit. So that's why that branch is there, which is good. I'll just leave it sitting in there for now. It should fill out. The other smaller one up here, we just wrap it around. It's not a big issue. Just fills that gap. Now I've got this awkward one here at the back here, so I think it needs to come down, because if I turn this around, there's a bit of a hot gap in here, so we're going to try and fill that gap with this branch. So maybe keep it nice and compact. Spread it out. The worst is when you've got big hands, you knock everything whilst you work. We can survive. Just see how that looks. So you're kind of sitting in the back, from if you can see that. Nicely sitting in the back in there. There's some small ones here that we can't really do much with. Too young to wire. Now we get to the bit where it's just the apex. These are all too small to wire, but you can see they're forming branches all around this bit up here, which is perfect. Now I've just got wired this main tall one, which has gone hard and woody, so that would just, now all I just do is, I know I've got all these options in the future, but if you don't want to have a tall thing, so you just try and bend it down and make something a bit more interesting. Maybe bend down and twist it around a little to create more movement. So a bit more movement, and then bring it back up. So like that, just to start to form a bit more shape. You don't want a straight, tall chop, like trunk straight up. So by doing that, and eventually we keep trimming all that, trimming all these, and you start to create that rest of the apex. But these have to grow out. So that's the next phase of growth. But that's given me a start. I still don't like this one. I think that has to be a bit further down. That's it. So you still tweak a few things, but it looks still messy, unfortunately, because not all the branching have really hardened off to make them brown. But I think that's a nice start. This is pretty much where I go, okay, this is good enough to now be trained ongoing. And when I train ongoing, I usually put in a bonsai pot. So this will go in a bonsai pot. So this is almost like my first stage, or the stage just before I put in a bonsai pot. Because once it's in a bonsai pot, I will maintain it more often, which is how I think and how I approach trees. So once they're in a bonsai pot, that's when I start to maintain more regularly, every couple of months, making sure, pinching, etc., what needs to happen. And I think this tree will quickly develop into a nice tree. So that's how the apex gets created. I'm not sure how it comes out in the camera, hopefully you guys can see. But you work all the way around, bringing things down. This has to fill out. There's a bit of a gap in here with this one growing into there, growing. And this will just nicely form a nice flatter base, flatter top there. Some nice ones in here to grow as well. These are not ready to be wide, but they'll fill in this gap in here. So you can just start to see where things will grow and position themselves. I really like that we've eliminated, oops, I might have to push the camera back, but it's really nice how we eliminated this branch looks really good by eliminating the back one over there. So yeah, things are coming up good. So I'm going to just move the camera back a bit. Yeah, much better tree, as I said. I think it's going to be nice in a bonsai pot. It's ready to go. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this quick video, but it's important to keep on your trees and keep working on them. Okay guys, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, bye.